Hello, welcome to Geeks Unleashed. This is episode 116. I'm Mark.
I'm Jasmine.
Um, as of episode 100, we each week we're talking about our current viewing, reading, or playing geeky habits. Sometimes mixing in some geeky news and discussing this week's gaming movie or TV movie. Sorry, or comic book movie or TV show. Sorry, really just butchered that intro. But anyway.
It's been a long week, y'all. If you are watching us on YouTube, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. We would also love it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, we appreciate that as well. We would also very much love it if you would leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser.
You may also donate to our Ko-Fi and just give us cash, basically.
Yeah, we accept cash. We accept all forms of payment, any currency. It's fine.
So, yeah, I mean, look at all jokes aside, just anything you give supports us. It's not free, but we enjoy doing it. We don't enjoy it to make money. We do this because we enjoy doing it, and
but if anybody would like to sponsor us, we love making money too. So I mean, hey, hit us up.
Do you know? There's a guy I've known online for a long time, 12, 13 years. His name's Imran Sadiq.
Oh yeah, I remember him.
And he wrote for Geeks Unleashed originally when it was a blog. He wrote here and there. He wasn't regular. He is completely doing something different now. He has a YouTube channel called Web Squadron. And I don't know if he does it every day, but a couple of times a week he goes live during the middle of the day. Sort of my lunchtime, which is probably like
very early morning for me.
You might just be getting up at that point. And,
yeah.
So a couple of times I've jumped on it, and earlier in the week I do have a point to this. And earlier in the week I jumped on, and on my personal YouTube is the same as my geeky Instagram, that geek Mark, and so I jumped in the comments and I just said, "Hey, Imran, whatever." And there's a bunch of people in there chatting, and there's somebody in there's like, "Oh, cool name." I was like, "Yeah, I sort of named it after my podcast." And anyway, so there's this whole conversation that they were having about linking to the money side of things, about different ways of not necessarily getting rich, but like making money. We're having this whole conversation about making money and doing things to make money. Like, so some people like, and he gave some examples like, oh, some people might think, oh, I'm going to make a blog so I can make money, or I'm going to make a YouTube channel so I can, because they see these influencers and they think, oh, I'm going to do that and I'm going to make money. Like us, we're influencers, and so.
I couldn't even keep a straight face. I'm sorry.
I barely pulled it off, and then you started laughing. Anyway, but and then in the because he knew I was in the comments, and then he started saying one of his thought processes was actually a lot of people do these things more out of enjoyment, like because nobody goes into it thinking I'm going to become a successful YouTuber. They start making their cooking YouTube channel or oh, sorry, I really tried to hold that in. So like they make their YouTube channel on cooking, like and it might blow up, and but look at KSI and Logan and Jake Paul, for instance. Everyone's got their own opinions on them, but when they started, they didn't know they were going to be as big as they were, but they did it because they enjoyed creating content. And then while he's doing his live Web Squadron thing, he went, "Oh, look at Mark and his friends." That create podcasts and he even said before Geeks and etc. He's like they do it all for enjoyment, and he even said maybe one day it might go somewhere, but he said they do it because they enjoy doing it, and if something comes of it, great. And I thought that was actually quite nice that well, I don't know how many people were watching his live YouTube video, like 30 or 40 people, and suddenly he's like shouts me out. I thought that was quite good. I thought that was nice of him to do it. So I thought I would in turn shout out Web Squadron, and I know that he helps people build websites and all that kind of stuff. So go check him out. So anyway, we weren't going to cover any news this week because nothing really jumped out at us, and we always said we were going to scale back any news coverage if there wasn't anything we really felt.
No trailers, no fun stuff. Not much going on for us this week.
It's fine. So I'm sure that will change next week.
Very soon.
In terms of catching up, like, is there anything you've watched, read, or played, or anything this week, or
Nope.
nothing
Nope.
at all?
It has been all work this week. I've been trying to close an out of state deal, which is always a little bit more complicated. So like by the time I get home from work, it's like I eat dinner and then I'm done. Like nothing else is happening.
No gym time?
Well, okay, so the only thing I did buy myself like a walking pad, which is on its way. It'll be here next week. I'm super excited about it because my place is too small for an actual like full-size treadmill. So I got one of those little like work from home walking pads because I'm not a runner. Like I only ever just like walk. That's the extent of the cardio that I do. So I'm excited to finally have that. Maybe I'll even start doing the podcast while I'm walking once I have it.
You could do it like when you're working as well. Have you got a desk that raises?
At work I do, yeah. So I don't work from
Okay.
home. I've been back in the office for 3 years. So I'm in the office every day.
3 years back in the office.
Yeah, we were only home for a month. So
Oh, is that it?
COVID shut us down for 1 month in 2020, and by May 1st, actually it was May 5th of 2020. I've been back in the office ever since.
I still hybrid work now.
It must be nice.
Sometimes, like this morning, I went in the office. I went in the office at 8:30 this morning, and then at 1 o'clock I came home. It makes it sound like I finished for the day. I didn't. I just came home and then carried on working here.
Yeah, you're just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. I just stood up and went, "Fuck this shit."
Everybody's dream, right? Especially on a Friday.
And as I did it, I flipped the table.
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'm done." And then all the people, which was zero in the whole room, it was an empty room, turned around and looked at me, and I was like, "It's like this room of silence." And they were like,
"Oh my gosh, that always makes me think of Wanted." That scene in Wanted where he finally quits and then hits what's his name, Chris Pratt, like with the keyboard on the way out.
I vaguely remember that.
Oh my god, I love that sequence.
But no, in all seriousness, the reason I came home is because the dog was on his own, and I didn't want to leave him all day on his own.
Yeah, don't be leaving Cooper all by himself all day.
So, do you know what? Though? I came home and he was actually like chilled. So,
well, that's because he's probably like out of his puppy phase now. So he's like, it's like I got the house to myself. Those crazy humans don't come back until this time.
That was almost 5 hours on his own. That's the most I think I've left him on his own was today. Like, no, maybe no. I've done 5 hours before. Actually, I have done 5 hours before. So that's the most I've left him on his own is 5 hours. I know I speak to different people and they're like, "Oh, I leave them all day, like 8 or 9 hours." I'm like, "Oh no." At the moment, I think I feel guilty about that. So I got home and he was pleased to see me. I gave him a bone, and then he sat. And then I was here where I am now, and he just sat by my side eating a bone. So,
aww. Everybody should go follow Cooper's account too. Just saying, it's so cute.
But anyway, this week I'm pretty busy.
But you did get a new toy.
It's not come yet. So what I did was, I've got one here. So for the YouTubers, podcast people, this is not a very good tool, but I do have this DS here, which people may know. This is a red DS in my hand right now. But we had two others. So we had 4 DSs. Don't ask me, but somehow we ended up with 4 DSs. We don't really need 4 DSs, and they've kind of just been kicking around the house, and we've kind of used them here and there. Mm-hmm. But to rewind a little bit, at Christmas, my wife bought me a Nintendo Switch for Christmas, which I absolutely love, and you may or may not have heard me mention it once or twice.
Just once or twice.
But it kind of like rejuvenated my love of gaming, and I since Christmas have bought a Wii, a PS2. Now it sounds like it's expensive. It's not, honestly. Like the Wii cost me like,
oh my god, I love Wii Tennis.
10 or 20 quid, I think.
Wii Tennis and Wii Golf.
I don't have any of the sport ones.
You gotta get the sport ones. They're so fun. Just be careful that you wear the little wristband. Otherwise your thing's gonna go flying into your TV.
I bought a PS2. That cost me 20 quid. I got that off eBay. But actually with the PS2, I bought, and I obviously back in the old days, it was all cable joypads. But somebody was selling a Bluetooth joypad for the PS2.
Oh wow.
So you plug in the front, and then you can sit on the sofa with no cable.
Yeah.
Like,
So you don't have to sit 3 feet in front of the TV?
Well, I mean, I assume that you could buy longer cables now, but yeah, they don't have to sit in front of the TV, which is cool. And so I've been playing. So I a couple of weeks ago bought Tomb Raider Legend and Angel of Darkness, and I haven't played Angel of Darkness yet, but I started playing Legend, and it was quite cool that I could. It felt quite nice to just sit back on the cozy sofa and not have to worry about the length of the cable, and like I say, like lean forward, just and but anyway, the other thing I've been playing a lot of was the DS, and all of the DSs we had are small. And I know to get a 3DS XL, even now, is quite pricey. So I went down to Computer Exchange, which is an English store. You probably got something similar where you can trade games or consoles in. Is it GameStop you have?
Yeah, you can do that at GameStop.
So I went down to Computer Exchange today, which you're like, this is now Mark teaches American stuff. So Computer Exchange, like you're gonna love what they call it on the front of the store.
Okay.
CEX.
So little kids go up to their parents and they're like, "Hey, I want to go to the sex shop." Is that how that works?
I would like to think that they also still call it Computer Exchange. So anyway, is it clever? Whoever came up with that is clever idea. So anyway, I went down to
sex
Computer Exchange.
Yes.
And I gave them do you know what? I actually bought in all 3 of these DSs, but because the stylus was missing on this one here, they wouldn't take this one in. And they said if I bought the stylus with it, they'll take it back. They'll take it. Anyway, that was fine. I didn't really need to trade that one in. I traded 2 in, got a voucher, because they can either give you cash and give you a voucher. With the voucher, you make more money than you do cash.
Of course.
And
because then you spend it in their store.
Basically spend it in their store. Now I said to them straight away, I want a 3DS XL. They go, "Oh, we got 2 of those here." I brought them out. They weren't the ones I wanted. They didn't come with the little like thumb. You got the normal D-pad. I don't know if you can see that. The normal D-pad, the cross one. On some of the 3DSs, they have like the D-pad and a round joypad thing as well. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like,
yes.
So the 2 3DS XLs they had just had the D-pad. I went, "No, I don't want these 2." And I was a bit annoyed because I'm really impatient. I wanted to walk away with one. And so they gave me the voucher. I went, "No, I don't want either of these." And I said, "These are the ones you got in store." They went, "Yeah." And then the manager, I've spoken to him quite a few times because I've exchanged games in there as well over the last few months. And so he said, "No, go on to the sex site." And he didn't say that. And he said, "Go on the website." And so I went on the website, I did it there in store, and I found the 3DS XL I wanted and free postage. So I don't have it here, but I've already had an email to say it's on the way.
Awesome. So we'll see it next week then.
Yeah, next week. But I also have been the gaming side of things. I
have been gaming. I forgot I did. I've been playing Mass Effect on PlayStation.
There you go.
Yeah, like I've played it 1.5 million times on my Xbox, but I never ever had it for PlayStation. And then I got a gift card and I used my gift card and I bought myself another version of the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So now I am playing Mass Effect on the PlayStation, which is fun because now I get to get all of the trophies all over again.
Oh, I've never played that game. Maybe one day. I might have to add it to the list, but
it's amazing.
But anyway, I bought this. I'm not going to talk about this too much now. But this game here is the new Super Mario Brothers on the DS. I've been playing that a lot. I won't talk about it now because there's reasons. And this came today in the post. Now I say this came. Actually, what happened was we already had this game.
Is that Sonic?
This is Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games.
Oh, fun!
So we already had the case, but my kids had lost the game, so I actually went onto eBay and found the game for like £2 or £3 or something. And so I got it posted, and my kids also equally had the case still for this Sonic Rush. but they'd lost the game, and I bought the game again for I think £3 again. So I think when it's all together, it's worth a little bit more. Yeah, so basically, I got rid of a lot of the games that we weren't playing. Like they were not playing like things like Bratz and Nintendo Dogs. They're a lot older now, so they don't care about those. So we've been concentrating more on like the fun ones. So we've got not the fun ones, the ones we actually care about. So basically, this now is
popular ones.
Yeah, the popular ones. That's probably the best way. So this now we're down to like the Marios and the Sonics, which Mario Kart.
I'm terrible at Mario Kart. I'm so bad.
Like, yeah, it's really weird. I haven't really been that bothered about gaming for years. I think since I first got a PS4. When I first got a PS4, I was super addicted. I played like every Uncharted, you name it, and I played all of them. I played the first two new Tomb Raiders. I haven't played the third one yet. I've forgotten it. The Last of Us. I played the first Last of Us. I haven't done the second Last of Us. I did Spider-Man. I was like non-stop on that, but I've kind of, I don't know.
It's just not as portable. Like once you start playing the portable ones again, it's much easier because you can pick it up and play anywhere.
That is the other thing. My wife watching TV, and sometimes I'm sitting next to her, and it's just so easy to pick the DS up and just start playing on it. And I'm like, okay, so that's that basically. Like it's quite cool. Like you say, it's a bit more portable.
Yeah, it's ease of access.
Like when I went to London on the train on Saturday and Sunday, I bought my Switch and the DS, but I ended up playing the DS more than I did like the Switch. So it was just a lot easier to do.
Yeah, so, you're never too old to be a big kid.
No, definitely not. But so you've been playing Mass Effect then throughout the week?
Yeah, so I finished the first game on PlayStation, which it always annoys me when I do my best to finish a game and then it's like you have earned enough trophies, but like you're only 40% complete for the whole game, and it's like 30 hours and I'm still like not even halfway through. I mean, I think I'm at like 80%. I got most of the trophies, but it's a lot. The first game especially, it's a lot of having to use very specific abilities during combat multiple times, and then you get trophies that way. But like you can only use certain abilities if you are a certain class, but you can only be a certain class from the beginning of the game. Anyway, it requires multiple playthroughs. So I have moved on. I'm on the second game. I'm super excited. I have to say, like, this is the first time I have played the same game on Xbox and on PlayStation, and it is the first time that I have noticed myself the graphic quality of the PlayStation versus the graphic quality of the Xbox.
You can get, I was just looking up, you can get the Legendary Edition for £20 now.
Yeah, that's what I got it for. And I had a gift card, so technically it was free.
Oh, I might have some gift cards laying around, although I don't know if I should buy it because nothing wrong with it necessarily. Just there's a lot of other things I haven't played. I've even still got some PS4 games that are still in their wrapper, which I haven't opened. Like,
oh yeah, I have. Oh god, what is that game called? It was the game with the androids for PlayStation. Detroit.
Yeah. I want to play that one. Detroit. I know what you're talking about.
I bought it, and it is sitting in my little case. I have never unwrapped it, like you said. Like it is still in the plastic. Detroit Become Human. That's what it's called.
That's by the same people that did the Two Souls game. Did you play Two Souls? Oh, I really like that. That was good. I like. Yeah, that was that's the girl. Well, that was the boy now. Paige. Oh, she was in that. Oh, I can't remember. She was in the X-Men. Kitty Pryde, I think she was.
Oh, Ellen Page, who is now Elliot Page.
Yeah, Elliot Page now, but she was Ellen Page at the time when she did the game Two Souls.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay, now I remember that game. Yes.
Yeah. That's a good game. Well, I liked that game. I've actually played that game twice, so it was good. But anyway, we should stop talking about gaming.
Yeah. Get to the main event.
We will be talking more about gaming in about a month's time, actually.
Yeah.
So we've kind of planned ahead. Occasionally we do that.
Yeah, sometimes. Don't get too used to it though.
There's a Super Mario Brothers film around the corner.
You may have heard of. Yes.
Yeah. You may have heard of those Italian plumbers.
Yeah. It's me,
anyway,
Mario.
You know, that's I've been playing Super Mario on the Wii as well. And like and the DS, it's the same, like hearing the little voices where he's like, yeah, like it's me, Mario.
Yeah.
He's like Mario time.
Yeah.
I can't do it. But anyway, main event. Man-Thing 2005, based on characters from Marvel Comics.
Oh, first appearance of Man-Thing was in Savage Tales #1, May of 1971. And Man-Thing character was created by Stan Lee, Roy Thomas, Jerry Conway, and Gary Morrow.
Written by Hans Rodinoff and directed by Brett Leonard.
And it stars people that maybe you know. Matthew Leneves, Rachel Taylor, and Jack Thompson, just to name a few.
It was released the 30th of April 2005, had a running time of 97 minutes, had a budget of circa 5 mil.
Yeah.
And it made, drum roll, box office, $1.1 million.
Womp womp. That is a big womp womp. Fun fact.
I wonder if it's made more since.
I doubt it. I don't see how that is at all possible. So fun fact, this movie, when it was in development, so this came out 2005, it was in development as early as 2001. And they always wanted it to be a direct-to-video release, even back in development in 2001. But because of the timing, they thought, oh, well, there's all these other superhero movies that are coming out. Like, we could do a theatrical release because it came out after Blade, after X-Men, after Spider-Man. And they even, like, M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable was considered, like, a superhero film. So they were like, no, we're going to do a theatrical release. So this film got abysmal reviews from their test audiences, to the point where most of the audience at all of their test screenings walked out before the film was finished, like before they had finished the movie. Like it was that bad. And so after that, Marvel was like, okay, so we'll just do the international theatrical release, but in the US, they actually played it as an original Sci-Fi Channel TV movie. It did not get a theatrical release in the US. And
I feel like I'm shocked.
Yeah. Oh no, so surprising. Yeah, I mean, it has to have been pretty bad. Like, for the test audiences to walk, like, they get to see it for free, and like for you to walk out of something that you didn't even spend any money on, like, it had to have been awful, right? So another thing, Avi Arad, who was at the time the head of Marvel way back when, and he also was like one of the main producers on the Spider-Man franchise for Sony. He said one of the biggest mistakes they made with Man-Thing was that they let the entire thing, well, yes, they let the entire thing happen in Australia with no supervision. And he was like, we just would never do that again. Now, some of the Thor films as part of the MCU have been filmed in Australia, but that is because, you know, Chris Hemsworth is Australian and Taika Waititi is from New Zealand. So they had a presence in the area. Plus, Marvel has a huge staff in Australia now, the same way they have a huge staff in London and a huge staff in Atlanta. But at the time, in 2002 or 3, when they were filming this movie, like, it was literally the people in the US were making the decisions, and then everything happened in Australia. The production crew, all of the actors, everything, all of the posts, all of it was in Australia. And there was nobody from Marvel in Australia to oversee anything. And I think, to me, it reads like by the time they got the first edit of the film, they were just like, the fuck you been doing over there all this time? Like, what the hell is this?
I wonder, like, if they just inflated people's salaries. They like, guys, look, they gave us 5 mil.
Yeah,
we can
make
make
this film for $5. Like, come on.
Yeah. Like, well, I was going to be nice and say like $200.
Yeah.
Sorry, not $200, $200,000 or whatever. We can make this film on $200,000. The rest of it, guys, we're going to Vegas.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you know,
Something.
like, or like somebody like had their mortgages paid off. You know.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, maybe this was like a launching pad, because there are a couple of faces in here. Rachel Taylor is one of them. She went on to do Transformers shortly after this, and she was in Jessica Jones. So she stayed in the MCU. This is her second run in the MCU. And then you got guys like Alex O'Loughlin, who was in Hawaii Five-0 for the longest time. So like
10
maybe
or
it bumped them up to some kind of noticeable level so that they kind of became like rising stars. But yeah, most of this cast, not so much. I mean, maybe they're popular in Australia and we just don't know.
Sometimes you do see that though. Like I can't remember her name, Amy something, who played Lois in the latest Superman films. Her name Amy.
Oh, Amy Adams.
Yeah, so like the first time I saw her, I think she was in one of the Clueless TV movie spin-offs, not Clueless, Cruel Intentions. And then she had a tiny role in Angel season 5, you know, the Buffy spin-off. And then like suddenly now, look, she's like,
yeah,
she only is now in blockbuster movies. So you know, you do see this where some people, you know, there's not always like if you look at Leonardo DiCaprio's CV, like he's just in nothing but blockbusters from the moment he entered Hollywood. From like even like I don't know how old he was, 14 or something, in like the Basketball Diaries. He's literally just always been in standout films. Like not everybody is as lucky as Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes.
But and you do see, unfortunately, people like you know, even Margot Robbie was in Neighbours, then Pan Am, and then movies. So she, you know, and I don't know how many episodes of Neighbours she was in, 100, 200 or whatever. You know, some people do have to cut their teeth in less fortunate
You gotta
roles.
start somewhere.
Like, gotta start somewhere. So yeah, like we'll talk about the cast in a bit, but so I'll do the summary if you want.
Yeah, you do that one.
I'll do that bit, and then right, okay, this is from IMDb. Agents of an oil tycoon vanish. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh there. While exploring a swamp marked for drilling, the local sheriff investigates and faces
a Seminole.
I know, I'm still struggling not to laugh. Legends come to life, Man Thing, a shambling swamp monster whose touch burns those who feel fear.
That is not really the vibe I got from this movie at all.
No.
Who writes these things, IMDb?
Anyway, did you want to?
Okay, so before we even get into anything, this movie is just all over the place, and as soon as I saw Alex O'Loughlin, I was like, this has to be an Australian production, because like none of these accents make sense for where this is supposed to be taking place to me. And this is my own personal background, because I do have family in Louisiana. The names that they have, especially when they drop that Thibodeau, like the whole Thibodeau Boudreaux joke, that's a big Louisiana thing. So to me, it reads like this is taking place in the swamps of Louisiana. And nobody had any kind of accent remotely close to the way that people sound in Louisiana at all. Like, not at all. And so like it was just really confusing. So like 10 minutes into this movie, I was like, this is not America. Like, it can't be. And then when Alex O'Loughlin popped up, I was like, oh, this got to be Australia. And sure enough, like the whole thing is Australia. And I was like, I understand that it's a linguistics thing, right? Like the easiest accent for Brits and Australians to copy, like American wise, is the Southern accent. It just makes sense palette wise. But like, I don't know. The original comic for Man Thing is supposed to be set in Florida, in the Everglades. And this film got away from that. This film implies Louisiana, and yet there is no, other than like gators and the swamps, like there is nothing Louisiana about this film whatsoever. That was very irksome to me.
Well, yeah, I think it can be like when you're watching something and you know where it's supposed to be set. where they're saying it's set and then where it's actually set.
Yes.
And they just like you said, it was filmed without supervision. That's a bit like strangely enough, that's a bit like Spawn.
Spawn didn't have any supervision?
Didn't they say that? Didn't they say yeah. So Spawn, right, so Spawn, what happened with Spawn, I'm sure did we not say this when we did the review? They did a test screening.
No, that I remember.
Yeah, they did a test screening for Spawn. All the people behind it were like, yeah, we like it. So then they gave the director complete freedom to do what he wanted. But the director, whose name, as anyone knows, I'm terrible names, the name of the director I forget, but he basically, then they kind of let him get on with it, and that's where they let the supervision go, because the original test screening.
And he pulled a bait and switch.
Yeah, so then he turned it into apparently this is the story. You know, the actor who played Spawn, I saw him being interviewed, and he said then what happened was he then turned it into a much more visual CGI heavy film, and then the final version was nothing like the original test screening that he showed, you know, the higher up
to get their approval
studio, to get their approval to move forward, and suddenly it was this whole other and like, you know, there's that, remember that scene in Spawn where you know, at the end, you know, the bad guy's got the pacemaker with the trigger.
Yes.
And suddenly, out of nowhere, he's got these magic powers to pull it out of his body.
Pull the pacemaker out, or the bomb out of his chest.
And then just sort of throws it in the air and gets rid of it. And like, you know, it had never been implied up until that point that he had those powers, and then suddenly he had those powers. And so even at the time, he said to the director, like, well, where's this come from? Like, how can I suddenly now do this? And then the director said, don't worry about it, it'll be fine, you know, like, like
not so much.
This doesn't, so I think, the reason I say it's similar to Spawn is because when I was watching this, I was thinking about Spawn, and so when we did our review of Spawn, so this is the part of the review where we summarize our thoughts of this film. So I was thinking about Spawn. Now, I gave that 0 rating.
Did you? I thought you gave it like a half. You gave it a 0?
I'm pretty sure I gave it a 0, right?
Oh, man.
And I actually, because do you remember when we did Mortal Kombat? Didn't I give that like a 2 or something?
You gave Mortal Kombat a 1.
Did you write it down? Or did you remember?
No, I just remember because you gave it a 1 and I gave it a 5.
Okay. And then so I said, if Spawn is a 0, Mortal Kombat is a 5. And you laughed and said that's hilarious. And basically, so I'm watching this film, and I'm thinking about how
you just got flashbacks to Spawn.
I'm thinking about how I gave Spawn a 0, and I'm thinking about how at the time.
How can you give this one less?
And I was thinking about how I said this is the worst film I've ever seen about Spawn.
And see, I told you that was an exaggeration.
And I remember on Instagram when we posted that the Spawn review had come out, I put a comment underneath saying this is the worst film I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And Nick from Comic Culture replied saying, "Worst film you've seen yet."
Yes.
And at the time, I was like, nah, like there's nothing.
I told
nothing that will take away how bad Spawn is.
Yeah, there's always something.
But there's always something.
Whenever you think you have hit the bottom of the barrel, there is always a false bottom. There is more to the bottom of the barrel.
If there was like a sliding scale again, like if I'm pushing Mortal Kombat now to a 5, I probably would push Spawn up to like a 4 or a 5. And like, I'm not going to ruin my grading, but you guys can see where this might possibly be going.
Yeah.
I honestly, like, felt every minute of this movie. I honestly had to keep pressing the button on my control. You know, the presses, that brings up the timer to see how much is left.
Yes.
Like, I was like, fuck, there's an hour left.
Yeah,
like,
but like you're saying that it's an hour left. It's an hour and 47 minutes long in the first place.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. I was like 40 something minutes in, and I'm like, oh, it's an hour left.
Yeah.
I actually had to watch it over 2 nights. If it's a really good movie, I'll be on the edge of my seat. I remember when do you know what? not superhero film, Shawshank Redemption. I remember the first time I put that on, I was sitting on the floor with like loads of my crap. I was like tidying stuff up in my bedroom. It's when I lived at home with my parents. My whole bedroom was a mess and there's shit everywhere. I'm tidying up my room, and I thought, I'll just put a film on while I'm tidying my room. Put Shawshank Redemption on. I didn't move.
How could you put that as a background film though?
Well, I didn't even know that much about it. I just thought, okay.
Oh no, background films always have to be stuff you've already seen.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so I just didn't move. I was like completely mesmerized. It was just like suddenly, like I can't remember how long it was. It was like 2 or 3 hours long or something.
It's pretty long.
I didn't even move. I just sat there and I watched it. Suddenly the film finished. I was like, oh, I didn't tidy my room.
Yeah, anyway, I didn't do anything I was supposed to.
I didn't do what I was supposed to. Yeah, like you say, I should have probably put this bloody film on.
Yeah. Well, see, I do the opposite. Like, I don't usually pause for, except for A Quiet Place. But A Quiet Place was so tense that I had to pause it so I could get up and walk around because I was just like this tight little like anxiety ball sitting on my couch. But like this film, I was the same way. So this is actually on. I don't know if you guys have this in the UK, but it's a streaming service here called Tubi, where they just have all of these awful movies, and they're all free.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So I'm watching it on Tubi, and it's like, thank God they had commercial breaks because it was just like, oh, finally.
So this movie, like in summary of my thoughts on this film,
there's nothing to summarize. Like nobody put any effort into the plot. They take forever to get to the monster. Like it's a story about this town with the people, and it's like, okay, you people are scared of something, but like we don't know what you're scared of, and you really don't see the monster until like the last 20 minutes of the movie, and by then it's like, I don't care.
Yeah,
kill everyone. Film, I don't care.
For a Man-Thing film, there's hardly any Man-Thing.
Exactly.
There's way too much build-up.
Yes.
There's no real decent character development of anybody.
None. Non-existent.
The acting is so
deplorable.
Poor.
Yes.
Now,
from everyone.
People have to start everywhere.
Yes.
Like, and I'm not mad with them for their acting. Like,
but the good thing is they get better. Like they're better now.
And that's what I say, to see Rachel Taylor and Alex whatever his name is. Hawaii 5-0 guy whose name I forget. Like McGarrett. There you go. That's his name in Hawaii 5-0. And that's what it'll always be to me, as McGarrett. Anyway, to see McGarrett in this, and then knowing where he ended up, like probably with several houses paid off after watching Hawaii 5-0. He was the absolute lead star of it, and him leaving is kind of what brought the show to an end. See his acting skills in Hawaii 5-0, his humor, his action, and everything, and then watching him in this, flipping heck! Like, I am glad that they all had careers after this movie. Yeah. So it honestly, paper thin story.
Yeah.
CGI was abysmal. Anyway, like.
It's, I mean, the only way to describe this is it's a mess. It is a mess from start to finish. Like it just, there's nothing to carry you through. There's no really through thread for the film. Like you said, it too much buildup. Like there are plenty of times where you have a film and it's like it gets to the good stuff too early and then it just falls off by the end of the film. But you're right. Like this one is way too long. They spend way too much time in the, oh God, what is it? Like they're trying to build this mystery and it's like, no. Okay,
let's stop with the summary and then we'll obviously fill out more of the structure part. But there's this question that we ask every week, like, favorite characters. I think for this film we'll just talk about characters.
Yes.
Like I have no favorite character in this film. Like so last week, right, we talked about Werewolf by Night.
Yeah. And which is why we're on Man-Thing in the first place.
And that's one of the reasons we've moved to this. So Man-Thing has a role in Werewolf by Night. And Man-Thing in Werewolf by Night, whilst he doesn't speak in either film, and whilst there were similarities in appearance in both movies, the Man-Thing that we saw in Werewolf by Night, whilst again that was it was a Marvel Disney production, and it was obviously a
TV special,
a lot more supervision around it. But the Man-Thing that we got in that movie had far more character and depth than we did in this Man Thing movie, which was a whole movie for Man Thing.
Yes, exactly.
And the Man Thing that we got in Werewolf by Night, whilst again not speaking, had humor,
had an impact.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I highlighted him last week as my favorite character in the Werewolf by Night, because whilst he, to me, didn't need to speak, I actually loved the presence that he had on the screen.
Yeah.
And now this film, the Man Thing we got, even then, I just think, to me, he just came across as a monster, and really was almost portrayed as the villain of this film.
Yes.
And there was no.
They really leaned into the horror part of this film, so
no problem.
There was no redemption for the Man Thing in this one.
I've got no problem with them going down the horror road or whatever, if that's what they wanted to do. But then the humans were trying to carry the heart of it, and suddenly we obviously have a love story injected with.
Oh God, don't even get me started. Talk about coming out of nowhere.
Kyle and Terry, obviously that's Rachel and Matthew, and so that came out of nowhere. But I don't know, I would probably say if I really, really had to choose a favorite, I would say Rachel Taylor as Terry. And I liked how spunky she was, chaining herself up to the oil drilling machines and stuff at the beginning. And when I first saw her, I was like, oh, it's from Jessica Jones.
Isn't she Hellcat?
And she starts to become Hellcat in Jessica Jones. And I thought she was brilliant in Jessica Jones. But to see the transition from this film to Jessica Jones, you got that, there was that element of her spunkiness that we saw later in Jessica Jones. And it was quite kind of nice to see her early days. And the moment she spoke, I was like, is she Australian? I was like, I didn't even know she was Australian. I was like, oh, I didn't know she was Australian. And obviously, I know she wasn't meant to be Australian in this film, but you can clearly hear the Australian accent.
Yeah.
For me, there's no real character development across anyone.
No.
None. It is so thin. None. And sometimes when the characters were talking to each other, I just thought to myself, I don't care. The amount of times I kept thinking, I don't care.
Yeah.
There was those two guys.
The brothers
who were sort of in the car, and they were I don't know what they were doing, and then later on they were going to blow up a drill in the middle of the swamp. And I'll be honest with you, I was so lost and just did not care about anything that was going on with these people.
Yeah,
I just felt like they've done nothing to make you care about them. They've been building up to this climax at the end, and I but anyway, just the development was so bad.
Yeah,
and I don't know, I know. With these characters, is there anyone that kind of even slightly stands out above anyone else for you?
The only person that felt like they weren't phoning it in was that guy who played Rene LaRoche. So the guy at the end who actually did rig up the dynamite and blow up the drill. And he ended up sacrificing himself at the end of the film. But that guy was the only one that I was like, okay, for the character description that you have been given, you seem to be the only person that is actually playing up to that part.
Well, strangely enough, he was in 2 episodes of Life, although.
Maybe him and Alex are still friends.
Yeah, maybe Alex said, do you need some work? He was in The Matrix, actually, Matrix Reloaded, and he was in the game Enter the Matrix. As a character that I don't know.
He would have been on because there were a lot of Maori characters in the Matrix.
Yeah. So
because he's Maori. So there's a bunch of Aussies, and then so that's another thing that I disliked about this film is that they had to throw in the race card. So because it takes place in the deep south of the US and they're close to Native American lands, they have to have this conflict between what they call the Indians and the coloreds. At one point, some guy actually says that in the film, and I'm just like, really? It could have been implied. It could have been implied. All you kept mentioning the tribe and tribal lands. You didn't have to actually throw in the slurs, but sure, why not? Let's just go ahead and throw those in there. So when they started to go down that route, and it was just it's an us versus them, and I was just like, oh my God, this is this is so poorly done. And like whoever cast this, like all the cast, it's literally like all of the white people are Australians and then all of the brown people are Maori. That's how they did this, like in their Australian casting. Like who like I just it's like they didn't even try, you know?
Oh yeah,
I mean, it was just like, what is the point? Like, why this film already is like just wobbly. Like it couldn't stand on its own 2 feet if it tried. Like, why do you have to throw in all of these other elements? Like what was the point of having that one racist guy in there have his little racist tirade about those people?
Do you know what I liked was when this film kicked off, and I actually did think as a joke in my head, I might make this guy my favorite character was the boat driver who was
Oh
driving.
yeah, with no teeth.
Yeah. Like as a joke, it was going through my head, and as he was pulling in, and the sheriff goes, "Oh, why do they call it Bywater?" And he goes, "It's because it's by the water." And I was like, "Are they for real? Like, are they actually for real? Like that? Like that?" I was like, "No,
That's
no,
why they named
like,
the town, because it's
because
by
it's
the water.
by the water."
By
And
the
I was
water.
like, I thought people like you really don't help. Like, you know, so anyway, yeah, that's
There is no
that is
structure. Like, I mean,
right.
to discuss at
Yeah.
all.
So with the structure of this movie, there is no real structure. I mean, there's tent poles. So like, I always remember the creators of Lost. Um, they said like they had tent poles that they needed to hit throughout the
Yeah.
6 seasons, and because it was it network TV, they knew that between each tent pole it may be 5 episodes or 10 episodes because obviously the network would say, right, this season's 22 episodes or 20 episodes, whether they had 10 poles that they would write to each story post.
Mm-hmm.
This movie did have 10 poles. Like it introduced characters, it introduced the mystery, it
I mean,
introduced a climax at the end. It had a climax at the end. They
Mark,
had
I don't think you
bits
should be giving credit for the bare minimum.
like no, but it did have things in it that it
No, this
wrote
is totally a movie
in.
because it had a beginning, a middle, and an end.
It did have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Like I'm not going to say that it didn't have a beginning, a middle, and end. It had things it wanted to achieve, and it wrote from A to B to C to D to E, all the way to the end. Got through those 10 poles. Now, did it do it well? No, it didn't.
Not even a little bit.
Did it build character and development? No, it didn't. Did
No.
it create mystery and eagerness to carry on and did it build tension and did it
No.
yeah, did it handle the climax well? Did it
No.
actually in a horror based movie with a climax allow that romantic relationship to uh you know grow organically to the point where we care about this thing happening?
No.
No, it didn't. And I, you know, then let's talk about the CGI. It's bad.
I always think about when the film was made when I criticize the CGI. Like 2005 was on the come up. Like we weren't, obviously we're not where we are today. Like there couldn't do Avatar back then, but like it could have been better for 2005. It could have been.
You
Especially
know
because
what?
we had already gotten like X-Men and
Batman Begins came out in
Spider-Man.
2005.
Yeah, that was a lot of practical effects though.
Constantine came out in 2005.
Constantine, I would say, no, Constantine did have some pretty good effects.
Fantastic Four came out in 2005.
Yeah, that's
War
not
of
really
the
a good comparison.
Worlds. War of the Worlds came out in 2005.
That doesn't count because Tom Cruise was in it, and like Tom
There's
Cruise
no.
films have like ridiculous budgets.
I'll tell you what else came out in 2005. Electra. Um,
that film's not rated too far behind this one.
Sin City came out in 2005. The
Sin City
Island.
was cool.
The Island.
Oh my god, I love The Island. That's one of my
I
favorite
love The
Michael Bay
Island.
movies.
I love that film. Ah, here we go. It probably had a big budget. Final Fantasy Advent Children, which is all CGI.
Okay, but you're comparing like Michael
comparing it
Bay.
to good films.
Yeah, like this movie
Doom-
would never
Doom.
have had a Michael Bay budget. Like
Doom came out in 2005.
Doom had awful CGI though.
I haven't seen Doom.
Oh, we should put that on the list. It's really scary.
V for
It
Vendetta
freaks
came
me
out
out.
in 2005.
Love, but that's also very practical effects.
Oh,
Doom is actually a really awful film. We should watch it.
Blood Rain came out in 2005. I've
That
never
was
seen it.
terrible. We should watch that too.
One of my favorite films in 2005, Serenity.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you what. King Kong came out in 2005.
Which King Kong?
With
Jack Black.
Peter David. Yeah, Jack Black one.
Mm.
That
one wasn't so bad. The CGI was actually pretty good in that one, but that was Peter Jackson, wasn't it?
Yeah, Peter Jackson. So he just got given everything.
I was just gonna say, like, that's all come off from Lord of the Rings.
They just emptied like 18 banks and said, "Here you go."
Yeah, like do what you want.
Yeah, do what you want. But do you know what? There's a movie that came out in 2005 I hadn't heard of, Batman versus Dracula. It's an animated movie.
What?
Like,
can we put that on the list?
Yeah, we should do. Like Batman versus Dracula. I've never heard of this.
I don't know who to root for in that one.
It's a PG.
Oh, PG. Boo.
It's animated. Like,
yeah, animated does. I mean, come on, Invincible was animated.
Yeah, I know, but this is 2005. They weren't ready for that back then. Like,
oh, not in animation anyway.
No, not in animation. Like, I don't think they'd ever make a well. Actually, Batman was a lot darker now in Batman vs Superman, but no, I don't think the audience is ready for Batman to like actually kill vampires and cut their heads. You know, they were never going to make a Blade version of Batman. Were they?
I mean, they could have, because Castlevania is real kick-ass.
No, I reckon they. Well, I think if Zack Snyder knew about this film, he probably would have made this rather than Batman vs Superman. That would have been a great start. Like,
I would totally watch that. Yeah, a Batman film, Batman fighting vampires. I'd watch that.
That's 100%. What they should have done. They could have Man of Steel sequel, Batman versus Dracula. Be like,
let's put Batman in a totally different like dimension, a different Earth, where vampires exist on that Earth, and just like let him have at it.
Yeah. So right, okay. There's a question I sometimes ask, and sometimes we say we're good. There's
oh dear. Oh dear.
What would you have cut or changed, and why?
I would never have greenlit this movie.
Yeah, I don't. Me neither.
This movie never would have made it like to a But the thing was, it was part of a deal. Like Marvel had made a deal at the time. There was a company called Artisan Entertainment. Eventually, right before the film released, Artisan Entertainment got absorbed by Lionsgate, which people are more familiar with Lionsgate now. And part of the deal was like they were going to develop several of these Marvel characters that they had then acquired the rights to by acquiring this other production company. And so they were supposed to be doing Black Widow. They were supposed to be doing like 4 or 5 other characters. It was like a 10 character deal that they had. And then when this movie performed so poorly, all of that went out the window, and eventually Marvel reacquired the rights to all of those characters that they had given to Lionsgate.
The Hulk film.
Universal did that?
Oh, okay.
Because Universal has the rights to the Hulk.
You know, Lionsgate did another Marvel movie. I remember, but I can't remember what it was. I remember, like, when this came up, I thought to myself, there's another Marvel movie that they did.
Did they do Eternals?
No, they did some animated movies. I remember now. They did the Ultimate Avengers. They did an Iron Man film. Hold on.
Well, I mean, Lionsgate is nobody to sneeze at. They're pretty decent size.
I haven't seen it, but they did Punisher Warzone.
Oh, now I do. The first Punisher is, I love it, but it's like bad. The second Punisher is also bad, but like I really, really love it even more than the first one because I love Lexi Alexander, who directed Punisher Warzone. And like, because she was a professional kickboxer, like her fight choreography that she has in her films is so freaking badass. Like, that is my favorite part of watching Punisher Warzone. It's just the fight choreography.
So they did a bunch of Marvel animated movies. They did Ultimate Avengers, Ultimate Avengers 2, The Invincible Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, Next Avengers, Heroes of Tomorrow, Hulk versus Planet Hulk, and Thor: Tales of Asgard. I'm pretty sure I've seen Planet Hulk. I don't know if I've seen the others, but I've always seen bits of them, and I think they were all done well. So
yeah, Lionsgate is
um,
a much bigger company than Artisan Entertainment was. But like I said, it was part of a deal. So like Marvel had sold the rights to certain characters, and they were supposed to develop this big plan with it. And of course, all of this is before we had the MCU and all that stuff. So I think the plans for the MCU had been in place for a very long time. Like this is Marvel like trying to get it started and then it just failing completely miserably. But thankfully they got their shit together and redid it.
Imagine if this was like the MCU's first film.
Yikes.
I don't know, but imagine if that was genuinely what they tried to do, and like crazy, like because it was in 2008 that we got Iron Man. So
yeah, so it wasn't like I would say that they learned quickly from the mistakes that they made with this film. That is probably the best thing to come out of Man-Thing.
I think what we can say here is everybody makes mistakes.
Yes, but do you learn from them?
And they did learn from them.
Yes.
And what you got to think is it took them not very long.
3 years.
To learn. Yeah, 3 years to learn and turn it around. Look at DC. They still haven't learned.
No, they don't have a clue. They really don't.
We're all hoping that James Gunn...
Our boy Jimbo. Come on, Jimbo. Don't let us down, man.
I'm still not convinced because he got rid of Henry Cavill, but...
Don't let us down, Jimbo. We're counting on you, man.
I'm honestly not looking forward to Superman. But actually, you can see here behind me, All-Star Superman sitting on the shelf there. Not looking forward to his new Superman, I'll be honest. But other than that, I guess the thing is that DC took 10 years to finally realize they needed their own Feige. I mean, some people are slow learners. Everybody learns differently. And I think what we need to realize is that everybody has a different learning speed. DC have taken a long time to learn.
Yeah, DC is in the special education classes, whereas Marvel is like GT.
Yeah. So you got to think though, it is good though that Marvel recognised that they screwed up with this, and they were like, right, okay, from now on, we're going to babysit these films.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they realized it pretty fast because they decided like this movie is not going to make its money back. There's no reason for us to waste any more money on a US theatrical release. Let's just go ahead and pull that back and drop it on Sci-Fi.
What's your thoughts actually on, because this isn't the first time that a movie's ever been retrofitted from cinema to go to TV. What's your thoughts on things like that happening? Because
I think if it's a sound business decision, I think you should make it. Like I said, that when it was in development back in 2001, it was supposed to be a direct-to-video kind of release. Like, it seems to me that the people who originally laid out this film had no intention of it being a big blockbuster thing. Like, that was not the movie that they set out to make. But somewhere along the way, that message got lost in translation, and it's just like they tried to do something that was just above their pay grade, and it didn't work out. So at the very end, all they could do to cut their losses was to, like, it's already made, we're just going to release it, but we're going to do, a non-domestic release, and then we're going to license it to a network here. So they gave NBC money so that they could play it on the Sci-Fi Channel.
That's crazy. Do you know what though? They should have done what DC did with Batgirl, and they should have done it as a tax write-off. I think that would have been far better for them to not release this.
I don't think that was as big of a thing back then as it is now. DC could afford to lose that money. I don't think at the time Marvel could afford to.
Oh no, Marvel wasn't owned by Disney, and Marvel wasn't too long out of bankruptcy. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Maybe Marvel was just like, look, we got to make something.
They tried to salvage it, and I mean, I still don't think it broke even. I think they did take a loss on this, but I don't think that they took a $5 million loss. I think it probably still made some money because they did sell the licensing to another station. But yeah, no, I think they probably just couldn't afford it. They were like, we've already done the work. Like, it's already like at this point it's already made. We might as well just let it go. Like
Oh,
let
there's
it.
one last thing I want to say before we finish this. When I first put this on, and you know how like a lot of these horror films always start with the random person getting killed, and you know that couple who end up on
Yeah,
the
that was another thing that pissed me off. Like, first of all, if this takes place in any kind of swamp, ain't nobody that grew up near a swamp trying to get in a canoe with alligator infested waters to hook up. That ain't
I
happening.
know, well, that was yeah. I was like thinking because you know, I don't live in America, but I've been to Florida many times now, and there's many signs saying
Yes.
do not go near the waters.
Yes.
And the amount of times I have read news reports of, you know, Disney tourists going near the water and getting eaten or attacked or something. And here we are, we've got people that live in this area,
Yep. It would never
that
happen.
grew up in this area and clearly knew this was a bad thing to do. But suddenly, oh, okay, we want to hook up, we're going to get in a rowing boat thingy, whatever it is,
Nope.
and go down the river and you know, hook up and so that was a bit like these people are just stupid.
I just think like they didn't do their research. Like if they really did just outsource this entire thing to Australia, like maybe they just didn't do their research. I don't know. Like
Australia have fairly terrible...
they've got gigantic things that kill people all the time. Like, but like the neighborhood that I grew up in, like we had a park, and it is not unheard of in my neighborhood. Like even in this day and age, you watch the news sometimes, especially in the summer, you will see reports all the time about alligators. Like alligator in the neighborhood. Woman walks into her backyard and there's an alligator in her pool. Like
imagine that.
You do not hang out like nobody hangs out in these creeks. Like we don't do that here. Like you don't do that.
The reason they had to do that though was because Man Thing was a swamp-based creature. And they wanted to keep it in the swamp. And however, Werewolf by Night, there's no swamp. No way at all.
But in Werewolf by Night, they captured him and brought him to that place.
Yeah, I know. Well, they could have done that. But anyway, guess back then they still were learning. So, but basically, what annoyed me more than anything was that when the beginning opens and she takes her top off, and I was like, oh, okay,
that's how it got the R rating. Come on.
I was like, oh, okay, this is ridiculous already. I was like, this is clearly a horror movie, but we had to throw in some nudity. Because,
Duh. How else would you know?
How else would you know this is an R rating? Like maybe they threw that in just so that the censors knew. They were like, you know, you might.
Oh no, there's too many F-bombs too. Like you can only say the F word one time if you are like a PG-13 film, just once, and it can't be like overly emphasized. It has to almost be hush. But anytime you put an F-bomb in there, that's almost an automatic R rating.
I mean, the gore scene at the end where the guy gets pumped full of oil, and
that was kind of awesome, honestly.
No, but I mean that was definitely going to get an 18. You know, that was like that's 100%. Anyway, I'm just curious, like as we bring our review to a close, and you know we reflected on the awesomeness of this movie. What you might rate this movie?
This movie gets a half a point.
So I mean, not 0.
No, I'm not going to give it a 0. I'm going to give it a half a point.
Okay. I don't know what to do really because I gave Spawn a 0, and this is actually worse than Spawn.
I mean, you could give it a negative, and then your negative would negate my half a point, and then this would be the first film that we have collectively rated less than 0.
I don't even know if
can we give it an award for that? Like, hey, congratulations, you've won the first ever official Geeks Unleashed negative review, like -0 review.
I don't think we've ever given a negative. Like, I'll hold off because it could be that this is the worst.
It could get worse.
This could be the worst thing we've seen yet. So I'm going to give it a 0. Okay. There's no other way. Like, it is honestly, it is so far the worst film I have seen yet. I'll be honest. I even remember your words to me when we watched Spawn. You said to me, "I've never heard your voice sound so like down, kind of reviewing a film." And those weren't your words, but something like that. And I'll be honest, that's I think how I feel.
I think because like Spawn actually disappointed you. I think you might have had some semblance of an expectation for what you were going to get out of that film, and it did not. It did not come anywhere close. I don't think either one of us had expectations for this film.
Oh no, I remember I said Man Thing. I did start it years ago.
Yeah.
About 10 minutes in, I was like, "This is shit," and turned it off.
Hmm.
And I'd always known that I'd planned to go back and watch it because I want to watch. It's like Pokemon. I want to watch them all. So Anyway, let's not talk about this film. Basically, we watched Werewolf by Night. We were like, yeah, okay, let's do
Man
Man
Thing.
Thing next
Yeah.
week. This was not planned. We
Oops.
were like, okay, let's do Man Thing. So next episode, because we thought let's carry on with some Marvel creatures
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Howard the Duck. We're going to do Howard the Duck next week.
Oh, fun, fun, fun.
Anyway, you can follow us on social media. We're Geeks Unleashed everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Come say hello.
Yes, we are very well. Mark is very chatty. Sometimes I jump in the comments. But you can also listen to this on your favorite podcast platform. We are everywhere: Google, Podbean, Apple, Spotify. So please leave us a 5-star review and tell your geeky friends.
I mean, let's be honest. If you're listening, you probably are on your favorite platform. But thank you anyway.
Yes, we appreciate
just leave the reviews. Leave the reviews. Like, subscribe,
and share.
Hit that
Sharing
bell
is
button.
caring.
Yeah. Anyway.
Good journey.
See you next week. Good journey.